Pierre de Coubertin dijo en 1932, no tengáis miedo, el porvenir es vuestro. Y el mundo deportivo, el movimiento olímpico, no tuvo miedo al acercarse a las Naciones Unidas para defender los derechos de los atletas y del deporte en su conjunto. A principios de los años 90, se crean lazos decisivos entre el movimiento olímpico y las Naciones Unidas para establecer la tregua olímpica defendiendo el derecho de los atletas de países en guerra a participar en los Juegos Olímpicos. Para ocuparse de los atletas que se encuentran en campos de refugiados. Para celebrar juntos el Día del Deporte para la Paz y el Desarrollo. Defender el medio ambiente. El movimiento olímpico dio un giro importante hacia el tema del deporte como defensor del medio ambiente. Hoy podemos constatar la transformación de las Naciones Unidas, donde el deporte ha tomado su correspondiente espacio. Muestra concreta del desarrollo de relaciones entre las dos instituciones es también el día que celebramos hoy, o sea, el día 3 de junio, el Día Mundial de la Bicicleta, adoptado en la Resolución 82 de las Naciones Unidas, el 12 de abril de 2018. El ideario de Coubertin es sin límites. Iniciativas y actividades como esta de profesor Sibilski facilitan comprender y difundir las raíces del fenómeno Coubertin. Coubertin es benefactor de la humanidad, dando un poderoso motivo de unión y concordia, de unión y respeto entre las personas y entre los pueblos. No debe sorprendernos el éxito que tiene el Día Mundial de la Bicicleta. Lo vamos a comprender mejor ahora con la presentación del iniciador de este movimiento y del día que ha llegado a ser internacional. Es un auténtico placer estar aquí hoy con ustedes para presentar al profesor Leszek Sibilski y al señor Felipe Targa, que nos van a hablar del Día Mundial de la Bicicleta. Nuestros invitados van a descubrir los propósitos de su proyecto y los éxitos que ha tenido. El profesor Leszek Sibilski es miembro del Comité Internacional Pierre de Coubertin y amigo coubertiniano del profesor Norbert Miller. Es profesor en Sociología en la Universidad Montgomery de Nueva York. Se dedicó al deporte de ciclismo toda su vida, siendo miembro del equipo polaco en los Juegos Olímpicos y en otras competiciones internacionales. Tuvo su máster en Educación y Ciencias del Deporte en la Academia de Deporte y Educación Física en Poznań, Polonia. Su doctorado en Sociología, Inclusión Social y Movimientos Sociales lo tuvo en la Universidad de Cracovia, en Polonia. Colaboró con el gobierno de Polonia en los temas de desarrollo de nuevos métodos en educación pública. Inclusión social. Este es su tema, inclusión social. Se destaca también su trabajo en mejorar la participación de las minorías y las personas con capacidad física reducida. Ha participado en los Juegos Olímpicos y Paralímpicos desde Moscú en 1980 y en varias capacidades profesionales. Por su trabajo con personas con capacidad de física reducida, ha sido galardonado por los alcaldes de Nueva York y de Boston, y también por la Federación China de Personas con Capacidad de Física Reducida. En 2012 fue premiado con el Inspiring Jewish Journey Award. No lo he traducido porque no puedo traducirlo. Mientras enseñaba en la Universidad Católica de Estados Unidos en Washington, D.C. Señor Felipe Targa es de Colombia, especialista en transportes urbanos. Ahora trabaja en el Banco Mundial. Fue viceministro de Transportes en Colombia. Tiene máster por la Universidad de Carolina del Norte en planeamientos urbanos y regionales. Está preparando el doctorado en sistemas de transporte en la Universidad de Maryland. Ha colaborado en el sector público durante 20 años, haciendo programas para el desarrollo de instituciones públicas, al igual que se ha dedicado a investigaciones académicas. Es un gran instigador del ciclismo urbano. Señores, la palabra es suya.
Isaac, you can start now. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Hello, everybody. I'm honored to be with you this afternoon, maybe tonight, perhaps for some of you, good morning. I'm very grateful for this invitation to this virtual Latin American lecture to speak to this very distinguished forum of Baron Pierre de Coubertin's followers, but most importantly, guardians of his legacy. Special thanks to Elvira for her persistence. Superb job for Nelson for putting everything together. And Felipe, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your expertise with my colleagues from Pierre de Coubertin Committee. In my presentation, I plan to argue that World Bicycle Day could be a case for all of us to consider reimagining our mission to meet our teachers, meaning Pierre de Coubertin, expectation for our generation. Instead of focusing on Coubertin's legacy, let's focus on his vision. Let's impress our teacher by extending his vision. May I have the first slide? Please move to the another one. And Felipe, floor is yours. Actually, screen is yours.
Thank you, Leszek, y extenderle el agradecimiento que Leszek les acaba de hacer al Centro Latinoamericano de Estudios Coubertinianos por esta invitación. Leszek, gran amigo, colega, y que compartimos esta pasión del advocacy por el ciclismo urbano, no solo por tema. Dio el favor que comentara con ustedes mi visión, digamos, y un poco de qué hay atrás de esa motivación de por qué la bicicleta. Y ciertamente es una pregunta que me hacen varios colegas dentro del banco que me ven un poco obsesivo, digamos, con impulsar y como apoyar a nuestros clientes, digamos, sobre una política pública, un enfoque de planeación urbana en ciudades que favorezcan el uso de la bicicleta. Y la respuesta es muy sencilla y se las voy a contar a modo de anécdota, de formato mitos y realidades. Y comenzaría por contarles que es un invento de 200 años que está ahí para salvar otro gran invento de la humanidad, que son las ciudades. Las ciudades fue nuestro gran invento de humanidad, trajeron estos beneficios de aglomerarnos, de estar, de compartir ideas, innovaciones, emprendimiento, pero a medida que todo mejora cuando las ciudades crecen, educación, salud, la movilidad empeora. Y hay una crisis de los sistemas de cuál es la solución para resolver esa ecuación de cómo nos movemos de forma eficiente sin generar efectos adversos, porque mueren personas en accidentes de tránsito, porque mueren personas por problemas respiratorios por la mala calidad del aire, perdemos tiempo valioso productivo en trancones, en congestión. Y en la bicicleta, la llamada a ser la que puede salvar varios de estos problemas que tenemos en nuestras ciudades de planificación y de movilidad. La mayoría de personas, de clientes, de alcaldes, de servidores públicos, nos dicen siempre, pero no, hay muy poca gente que se mueve en bicicleta, esto no va a resolver, esto no somos ciudades pequeñas como Ámsterdam, somos megaciudades. Y ese es el mito. La realidad es que la mayoría de los viajes en ciudades, más del 50% en la gran mayoría de ciudades, son viajes cortos, de 3 kilómetros, de menos de 3 kilómetros, un viaje que en bicicleta se puede hacer muy fácilmente en 15, 20 minutos, y más ahora con la posibilidad de los vehículos eléctricos asistidos, nos va a permitir alcanzar aún distancias mucho más grandes. Y está medido que hay diferentes tipos de población. Roger Geller, el comisionado de transporte en Portland, Oregon, Estados Unidos, lo identificó, lo midió, y eso se ha expandido, digamos, es un concepto, parece ser universal. Hay 4 tipos de ciclistas. Hay un segmento que siempre va a andar sin importar que hayan ciclovías. Hay otros que están más preocupados por la seguridad, ciertamente, si llevamos a nuestros hijos. Y hay un gran segmento que es casi la mitad de la población que podría ir en bicicleta si existen condiciones de seguridad. Teniendo esa posibilidad, es un problema del huevo y la gallina. Construimos infraestructura segura para que los ciclistas se muevan. Si no lo hacemos, los ciclistas nunca vienen. Y ese es lo que hemos estado trabajando en el Banco Mundial, generando herramientas para que en la planeación se pueda romper ese tema, digamos, del huevo y la gallina, y puedan, digamos, las ciudades planificar infraestructura para que sus ciudadanos, los que tienen gran potencial, se puedan hacer. Los beneficios económicos y sociales inmensos. Por cada viaje, kilómetro recorrido en bicicleta, se genera en la sociedad un beneficio de 20 centavos de dólar, mientras que en un vehículo motorizado se impone un costo en la sociedad de 86 centavos, y lo pueden ver en diferentes aspectos, como la mejora en la actividad física, mejora en los sistemas de salud, mayores ventas en los comercios alrededor de las ciudades que planifican alrededor de esta infraestructura, y esa es la convicción, digamos, que tenemos desde un punto de vista puramente económico-social, de beneficios. En Lima en particular, hace un año, en el Día Mundial de la Bicicleta, lanzamos el plan de infraestructura que esperamos financiar, construyendo más de 11.100 kilómetros de ciclovías nuevas, una relación beneficio-costo de 19:1. Por cada sol que el gobierno peruano invierte en este plan, van a generar beneficios económicos de 19. Nunca antes visto en proyectos que conozco de infraestructura esa relación de beneficio-costo. Y el jueves, en el Día Mundial de la Bicicleta, el segundo, desde que conozco a mi amigo Lessig, y me he comprometido a generar un milestone importante cada año de estos, lanzamos una plataforma web para todos nuestros clientes, ciudades con las que estamos trabajando en América Latina, con una cantidad de herramientas y guías para planificar, para diseñar infraestructura segura, para monitorear, y para que entre ellos exista un mecanismo de compartir mejores prácticas y conocimiento. La plataforma se llama Plan Móvil, Plataforma de Movilidad en Bicicleta para América Latina. Y bueno, esos eran mis 5 minutos cortos, Leszek, de por qué la bicicleta y por qué estamos varios colegas tratando, digamos, de reinsertar o devolver, digamos, este gran invento de la humanidad para salvar un poco en crisis, y es la movilidad en las ciudades. Gracias.
Gracias a ti, Felipe. Your turn, Leszek.
Thank you, Felipe. I want you to pay attention to this slide. it's very significant for me. First of all, those two couples on the upper left, the most famous woman in Polish history, Marie Curie-Skłodowska, who won the Nobel Peace Prize twice, one single-handedly, then with her husband Pierre on the left side, and she's the only mother who was able to raise a child who won the Nobel Peace Prize as well. She is, in my eyes, the most famous Polish cyclist, Marie Curie-Skłodowska. And according to Albert Einstein, she was also one of the best cooks. Now, on the right side, you can see Martin Luther King. Why I put his picture on it? Because bicycle is non-biased instrument. Bicycle accepts everybody. Bicycle accept people from every possible segment of our society. No gender issues, no orientation issues, no age issues. Just learn how to ride a bike and go ahead and enjoy. On the left side, you see my favorite US president, Jimmy Carter, who was an excellent open-minded person who used bicycle quite frequently. And then on the right side, we see a mother with two children taking them for a ride. Bicycle plays extremely important role for women, mothers, daughters, and females, young females. And as I'm gonna prove later on, I call this a love affair between women and bicycles. And the last picture, obviously that's our future. If we're gonna find system, how to teach them how to ride the bicycle on daily basis, this is gonna be a life-saving skill comparable to swimming. This is how important it is. Unfortunately, according to our estimates, slightly over 50% of global population knows how to ride a bicycle. I call this a cycling literacy. And something has to be done. And one of the reasons why I was pushing so hard for the World Bicycle Day was just to eliminate the bicycle literacy. Christian, please, another slide. You know, don't be upset that I put this title, it's the bicycle stupid. I'm not the first who came up with this idea. It was a paraphrase from a speech of former President of the United States, Bill Clinton, who used this for economics. He said, it's the economics stupid. I use it for bicycle because it's so obvious. Please read this statement. There is no machine known that is more efficient than a human on a bicycle. There is nothing more productive than our body. We are the best engines. And he's providing us with example of bowl of oatmeal, and we can go on it 30 miles without recharging, refueling, and polluting our environment. And this is a very famous person here in the US. We call him a science guy, Bill Nye. Christian, next, please. Okay, one of the reasons why I was so anxious and so happy to be part of this presentation is because I've noticed last year that in Latin America, certain countries, including one leader, one president, and one very well-known mayor, restarted the celebration of the World Bicycle Day on April 19th. And it is misleading and can be lost in translation because it's called Bicycle Day, which is for some a holiday. I don't see any reason to treat this as a holiday, but it is treated and it is misleading. So on April 19, 1943, one of the Swiss doctors who was focusing on pain medicines took some fungus mixture and went for a bicycle ride home. When he was riding, he felt like he's in seventh heaven, and suddenly he discovered that this fungus has other power. Basically, it's a narcotic. And since then, certain part of our society call this a bicycle day syndrome or phenomenon. And it's very misleading for us. So since most of you are teachers, make sure that people in your country know that the World Bicycle Day is in June 3rd. Not April 19th, June 3rd. Whenever you see in Latin America that they celebrate World Bicycle Day on April 19th, please correct them and explain them that this is just a holiday lost in translation. And I even use this in our hashtag, as you can see, hashtag June 3 World Bicycle Day. So please be mindful of it, and as teachers, feel free to correct people who are lost in their destiny. May I have next slide, please? So I started cycling very early, basically at age 11, and I became quite successful. I really liked it. And in Poland, I had two options, either to be in sport or to join the communist organization for youth. At that time already, it was obvious for me that sport is a better solution. And so as a young boy, you had within sport three options: football or soccer, cycling, and boxing. And for some field, track and field. Somehow I decided to select cycling, and I started to compete, and I became quite successful very early. And basically, after my first year, I became a member of the Polish youth, junior, and then Olympic team right away. And I was there for 11 years. However, when I was on the national team, I wanted to connect my sports career and education. Somehow I knew that education is very important for me, and it's important for every athlete. And on March 16, 1978, I decided not to go for a sports camp. I decided to stay in my sports academy and finish my first semester, and I let my team go to Bulgaria. On their way home, the plane crashed. All got killed. Those two young gentlemen on the podium vanished in this plane crash. And since then, I became very, very mindful in terms of my life. And also, for every semester, to over 3,000 students of mine, I pass the following message: education saved my life. Learn from my lessons. And then I keep telling them that the most important day for every athlete is not when they are winning. The first most important day for every athlete is the first day after their sports career, because this is a very shocking discovery. You feel that you are still famous, you feel that you have money, you feel that you can do anything, but the real life uses completely different rules. In sports, everything is basically fair, it's measurable. You respect your winners, you accept your losses. In real life, there are different games, different rules. And we are seeing nowadays many athletes going through very serious mental issues, and this is why they are not prepared to deal with real life. So every athlete has to be able to reinvent himself or herself. Next, please. As you can see, I was winning. It was not easy. And I call cycling art of dying. It's not enough to have a good bike. It's not enough to be prepared. You have to push yourself to the limits. And this is why it's so important. Next, please. Right after my sports career, I didn't want to be directly involved in cycling, but I decided to become a photo reporter and journalist for the Polish equivalent of Sports Illustrated. And here I'm interviewing the most famous cyclist, Eddy Merckx from Belgium. I still had the beautiful mustache, but now it's gray, so I eliminated it. Next, please, Christian. Thank you. Okay, so I came up with this idea as a mature teacher with regards to the World Bicycle Day. But as a teacher, it's your second nature. You want to share. You want to spread the message. And as a teacher, by nature, if you want or not, after 20 years, you become more or less selfless. And I decided to share this idea with my students. And we were using social media. I was using traditional art, as you can see the posters, because when students paint something, they think about it. And you're forcing them to memorize and to process from a different angle. So that was very interesting. As you can see from the faces, the entire spectrum of our society was in my classes. So the bicycle is accepted by anybody at any given moment. Next, please. Well, besides my classroom, and I believe the classroom is the most powerful instrument in the minds of every teacher, I ask my students to campaign outside of the classroom. And obviously, the easiest way to promote the idea of World Bicycle Day was to send them to bike shops, because there is only one place where every bicyclist, every cyclist is gonna meet. That's at the bike shop or the bike repair shop. This is like going to your doctor, and your bicycle needs tune-ups, needs some repairs. And I decided to create an alliance with owners, managers of the bike stores. And that was a fantastic combination. And here you have one example what we did. And again, look at the faces. Bicycle is period. Next, please. Then with my, when I had my idea formulated, I was invited to Korea to give a speech on ideas related to cycling. And I was trying to engage Olympic cities. It was well received, but the bureaucracy was not fast enough for me. So I went for another conference to Taipei in Taiwan, to the nest of the bicycle productions. If you want to find yourself in a place where on every corner there is a bicycle factory, go to Taipei, and you will be surrounded by all kinds of factories, productions of bicycles. And now, let's stop for a moment. You see, through Norbert Miller, who put me very close to Coubertin's teachings, I started to analyze Coubertin's experiences, failures, the victories, and so on. And I came to a conclusion that only successful project, if you believe and if you know inside in your guts, you can deliver by staying away for compromising your mission. And you usually compromise your mission when you apply for grants or you ask your bosses for grants or money, because they want a piece of you. You know, they want to influence you. And when you go with such a straightforward project like World Bicycle Day, you cannot take away one wheel or a saddle or something from this project. It's just a bicycle, and you have to stick closely to the project. So I decided to finance this project by myself. I did not receive a penny from any organization, any institution, up to the moment of adoption of the UN resolution. And that's what helped me to be very flexible, very fast, and I was able to react very quickly. Obviously, I learned this for Pierre de Coubertin. However, I learned another lesson. Do not spend all of your money because you may end up being bankrupt. And our teacher was almost close to bankruptcy, and he lost basically everything through his passion. However, he achieved everything what he wanted. At a certain point, you have to sacrifice whatever you have for your mission, if you believe in it. For me, cycling was very close, still is close, and I believe that cycling is the future for humanity. So my lesson, my message to you is, sometimes you have to take a risk. If you believe that your project is powerful and it's straightforward, go ahead and invest your money, because somehow you will be able to see something amazing. I was in a good position because my wife and I, we were empty nested. Our kids left our home. They were professionally and financially independent. So it was relatively easy to make such a decision, but still I could buy myself a new car or go on a vacations to some beautiful places. I decided to spend money on this project, which allowed me to be free, extremely independent, and I was able to move very fast. It was amazing, amazing experience. Again, thank you to Pierre de Coubertin, who showed me that sometimes you have to do that. Thanks. Next slide, please. Obviously, when you campaign and you have your students, you have your school, and you have your own money, you need to engage non-governmental organizations. And that's a very, very powerful community within, especially United States society. They have many non-governmental organizations, and I came up with several projects to engage them. And as a result, I touched base, I think, with one of the best non-governmental organizations related to providing bicycles in underprivileged societies, especially in Africa. Nowadays, I hear that they have a chapter in Colombia, and we started to work. They appreciated my work. They awarded me with this beautiful plaque, and we started to work. And that was another support for me. I felt that I'm getting another push from people who paid attention to bicycles. May I have go to the next slide, please? Now, again, I already mentioned Albert Einstein. That's what he said. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. And the best way is to keep yourself on a bicycle. Apparently, and this is documented in several serious and credited resources, he's crediting his rides on bicycle to discovering the theory of relativity, this famous MC square equation apparently came to his mind while he was riding a bicycle. Here below, you can see something very unique, which got my attention immediately. On the right side, you can see the previous Secretary General of United Nations, Ban Ki-moon. On the left, his right hand for climate change, Christina Aguilera, and in the middle, a lady, which is a very interesting initiative in Ghana, where females are building their bicycles for society using bamboos. And this picture was taken in 2013, I believe. This year, I decided to touch base with this organization, and they became part of our celebration. And we had a wonderful experience, and I will provide them with the leading manufacturer of equipment, bicycle equipment, and they're going to be supported by this organization, and they will continue this very unique, very original idea. And we have to support such ideas. You see, when you move forward with an idea, you have to create a very friendly, very enthusiastic environment. You are looking for friends, because friends will help you, enemies will distract you and sidetrack you. And that's the very important thing. You create alliances, you create support. May I have next slide, please? Well, my dear Poland, this is the Polish flag, and as you can see, people are using bicycle as a symbol of protest. And that was very interesting, because one of the ministers of foreign affairs in Poland in 2016, in his interview to the German Bild tabloid, made a very, very unfortunate comment. So the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Poland made a very silly, unfortunate comment. There is no place for cyclists and vegetarians. We were all very embarrassed. And that was a huge mistake. Minister of Foreign Affairs is making such a statement to an international newspaper. And I paid dearly, I paid dearly when I was campaigning for the World Bicycle Day. However, this year, I approached different Minister of Foreign Affairs in Poland, and I proposed to them the following thing. I said, guys, why don't you engage all of your missions all over the world and ask your diplomats to promote bicycle diplomacy by engaging different diplomats, different politicians, NGOs in different countries, and make them friends, create new programs to promote bicycle and promote cycling for all. They agreed, and we had a wonderful, wonderful project, which I called Bicycle Diplomacy, and it looks like it's going to be implemented as a steady project for every Polish mission all over the world. So I had my sweet revenge in a very peaceful way. And one more thing, whenever you see a politician or a diplomat riding a bicycle, I can guarantee that they are not going to fight, they are not going to argue, because your hands are busy with your steering wheel, your legs are busy with the pedals, and if you're not going to be smart in terms of controlling your breathing, you're going to lose your breathing, and you're not going to go too far, and you're going to be a disaster for yourself. So bicycle is a good place to have a peaceful conversations, including with your spouses. Next, please. So this is, you see, initially I thought that this is going to be an easy introduction to the United Nations. And my first reaction was, I should contact the mission to the United Nations of the Netherlands. Obvious, you know, this is a kingdom of bicycles. Just for your information, the Netherlands have more bicycles than citizens. Just to support this statement, in the Netherlands, on an annual basis, there are being stolen about 60 to 80,000 bicycles. So that should give you the idea how many bicycles they have and what kind of problems do they have. They are not stealing expensive cars, but they are stealing expensive bicycles. So I approached the Netherlands, and they said that they are not very much interested in promoting this holiday, because it's there are too many holidays at the UN. By the way, there are holidays for the radio, for the television, all kinds of holidays, but there were no holidays for the bicycle. So I said to myself, that's tough. And I went to the World Bank, and I shared this information with one of my colleagues, and listen to this, a female colleague. And she said, don't worry, there is a mission at the United Nations, which is very much interested in promoting transportation, and they are very active. That's Turkmenistan. When I heard Turkmenistan, the next day I was calling mission of Turkmenistan. I told them my story. They asked me for a letter. Letter followed immediately. After a few days, I had this meeting. This is our first meeting, a shake hands with the ambassador of Turkmenistan mission. And we started to work. And on the left side, you can see the first consultation meeting with state members. We had 5 of those. This is a smart. You cannot push, you have to listen, but you have to still be able to send the message. To achieve a resolution, that's not easy. Trust me, and you have to play a very diplomatic games, but in the same time, you have to be honest with yourself. Next, please, Christian. Again, I mentioned females, and I give you one very powerful example. So when we achieved the resolution on April 12, 2018, I approached my school if they would be willing to sponsor a trip of my students for the first celebration of the World Bicycle Day in New York City. And the answer was yes. And I told my students, guys, there's a free trip to New York for 2 to 3 days. We have to be part of the celebration because we were part of this project from the beginning. So I thought, you know, there were going to be a competition on both sides, but only young females volunteer for this trip when everything was paid. A luxury transportation, a luxury hotel, excellent food and per diems and everything. Only female students decided to join me for this trip. And I call this as a bicycle female love affair. There is something. Whenever I talk about bicycles, I always see a connection between women and bicycles. And I experienced this by myself. Next, please. Okay, that's the adoption day. An amazing day. And let me make a very clear statement. Without Norbert Miller's introduction to Coubertin's teachings and his life, I would have not been able to find myself in this place. And this place is unique. And when you bring your project to this forum and you wait for every country to say yes, and you have to wait for a while because you have 193 members, that's a very emotional and very satisfying moment. And look, I was able to connect with diplomats from a different country. I supposedly come from a Catholic country. Here, Turkmenistan, they are a very Muslim-oriented country. And we were united because we wanted to achieve a goal. And that goal was to have a World Bicycle Day. So when you work hard, and I must admit that the diplomats from Turkmenistan, they worked very, very hard. And we worked very diligently, delivered. Just for your information, and that's gonna give you an idea in terms of tensions related to adoption of this resolution. 12 hours before the adoption, I was asked to send a letter to the ambassador of one nation. Do you have any guesses what nation? Nelson, do you want to shoot?
Sorry.
12 hours before the adoption, we decided that we have to send a letter to the ambassador of one nation. What is your guess? What nation was that?
Would be Brazil.
No, United States of America. Guys, everyone is paying attention what the US is gonna say.
Why not
It's
Brazil?
unbelievable. It's unbelievable. When the time comes for the US to say yes or no, or to abstain, the entire room, the entire hall was looking at the US delegation. It's a telltale story. Unbelievable. You know, this is how it goes. But we were lucky, and I used something very interesting in my letter to the ambassador of the United States to the UN. That was during the Trump presidency. And I reminded the ambassador that President Trump was once owner of a professional cycling race. And I guess that was a good point that we started from the right angle. You always have to keep your eyes open. Christian may have another one. Again, look, there is only one man, and that's me. Females, females, females. And there is something. This picture was taken on June 3rd, 2018, just before the first celebration festivities of the World Bicycle Day at the United Nations. Next. That's at the end. We had a small get-together with ambassadors in the park. Here you can see a mayor of Taipei, a good friend of mine, professor from Taipei University, is celebrating the day. Next, please. After everything was done, I couldn't say, this is it. The first thing after we were done with the World Bicycle Day #1, I arranged for a meeting at the Afghanistan mission, and I had a wonderful meeting. And guess what? This lady immediately picked the project, and we decided to promote cycling in Afghanistan. And this year, I was looking on the internet, on social media, the Afghanistan Cycling Federation and Afghanistan Olympic Committee. They were the leading organizations in terms of promoting on social media World Bicycle Day. They even organize cycling events in every major city in Afghanistan, and that's very courageous, knowing what is happening in Afghanistan. And again, females were the leaders. And I believe that bicycle can be a peacemaker. And we all know that our teacher was very much focused on peace through sport. And peace can be delivered through bicycle. Next, please. Okay, as I mentioned, we have a peace and we have a love. And I remember my parents taking me for rides, family rides. Just a few hours ago, I arrived from a 20-kilometer ride with my wife. Both of our kids ride bicycles without any problems. And World Bicycle Day brings positive feelings. We had similar holiday before. It was called a day without car. However, day without car has a negative connotation. And as a sociologist specializing in global social actions, micro actions, you don't want to start campaign with a negative message. It's better, easier to excite people with a positive message. So World Bicycle Day brings positive feelings, positive emotions, and it was accepted beautifully. This year, it was amazing. And for your information, last year, this is a piece of my vanity. As you can imagine, everyone has a piece of vanity. And in my case, I wanted to have celebration of the World Bicycle Day in the space station. So I called NASA and the European Space Agency, and I asked them to ask their astronauts to go on their stationary bikes and celebrate the World Bicycle Day by riding the stationary bikes on the space station. And they did last year. So I fulfill my childish dreams as well. Christian, next, please. Okay, we are at the final slide, and we are looking at this very elegant gentleman who once said, "No nation, no class, no profession is excluded." He was talking about Olympism. But let's put a bicycle and we will have exactly the same conclusion. Bicycle doesn't pay attention to your passport, doesn't pay any attention to what class are you coming from. If you are a doctor, professor, waiter, soldier, you name it. He or she will be able to ride a bicycle without any problems. Everyone is included. And this is a very neutral, and it's an instrument which is very likable. Let's think, do you remember such an important instrument created, innovated by people called abacus? We don't use them, but we still use bicycle. Do you remember VHS recorders? I still remember them. We don't use them anymore. And bicycle is still with us, and I believe that bicycle will be with us for a very long time. We are moving into very advanced technology, which is forcing us to sit, to be passive. Bicycle is allowing us to have 2 or 3 very pleasant emotions. Visual, because we can see, we can admire everything what is going on around us. Our body is getting a great exercising. And on top of everything, we are being free. We can turn left whenever we want to. We can turn right whenever we want to. And so that's the history of the World Bicycle Day. However, I want to emphasize something very important, that this is a great opportunity for us to take a closer look at our movement of people who are guardians of Pierre de Coubertin legacy. Instead of being historians, instead of being passive, I think we should reinvent his vision, his ideas into something new, and still believing in his values and his standards and belief in the Olympic idea. I believe that the World Bicycle Day can be an excellent example for young teachers, for people who believe in something which is good for humanity, who are straightforward, and who are knowingly related to Coubertin's teachings. Without Coubertin, world of sport would be most likely insane. We have something to compare. Coubertin allowed us to have an example of something which we always can compare. However, it's time for us to move forward. We cannot move forward without knowing the foundation. And the foundation, that's his legacy, that's his achievements, that's his writings, that's his thoughts. But we have to move forward, and we have to have more influence on what is going on with contemporary sport. And that's my concluding thought. I'm open for any questions. Thank you for your attention.
Just a comment before. I changed my background here. And just to let you know, Leszek, the man in the bicycle with his woman is Barão of Rio Branco, the first Brazilian Olympic delegate.
Oh.
He was friend of Coubertin, and I after your question about who was the the country, I would like to have some Brazilian to
Very good. Yes.
You know.
This is a great lesson for me.
Yes. So, but Raul is his first name. He was Barão too, as Pierre, and they met each other in Paris in 1914 when Brazil started the history, Olympic history, in our region. Just to let
now you have to send me 2 pictures.
Yeah. I will do it. Don't worry. I will do it. So, Elvira, you have the floor, and we are open to the questions. Amigos, podríamos hacer las preguntas en español, porque ahora María Fernanda, nuestra traductora, va a cambiar de idioma para que ustedes puedan hacer también las preguntas en español, para que ella pueda traducir a Leszek o también a Felipe, si quieran, ¿no? Que también es nuestro invitado. Elvira, puedes conducir las preguntas y abra tu micrófono y estaremos ahí.
Sí, es que yo no he abierto el chat. ¿Me puedes...?
Ah, sí, pero no está abierto. No hay preguntas ahí. Vamos a hacer las preguntas directo.
Sí.
En mi micrófono abierto. Creo que es mejor.
Vale.
Así que bueno, María Fernanda traduce. Hagan la pregunta corta para que ella haga la traducción para Leszek y él pueda comprender la pregunta.
¿Me permites que yo haga una pregunta?
Claro.
Sí. Mi pregunta es, si nos puede indicar cuáles han sido resultados hasta ahora y cuáles han sido problemas que no han permitido llegar a la expectación que tenía.
As of now, I think the World Bicycle Day concept is a huge winner. We are a little bit lucky for 2 reasons. COVID did not allow us to make good celebrations, but forced global community to use bicycle more because people were afraid to use public transportation.
Thank you.
However, for your information, public transportation is my next project, my next resolution, and I'm already fully engaged with several nations, and hopefully we will be able to present something again within the next few. Never stop, never stop.
Thank you.
Believe.
Next, próxima pregunta, ¿quién quiere hacer? Sí, vamos primero a Héctor. Despacito, Héctor, para que la traductora pueda acompañarte.
No es una pregunta, sino una felicitación a ambos exponentes. La verdad que nos gustó muchísimo la exposición que han realizado sobre un tema que verdaderamente apasiona y una problemática social, económica y de salud que vivimos todos. Yo lo que quiero recordarles a ambos que hoy, decretado también por Naciones Unidas, es el Día del Ambiente. A mí no me gusta decir medio ambiente, es el Día Mundial del Ambiente.
We are fully aware of the World Environment Day, and actually, and I'm not trying to be too bragging, but this year our coverage on social media was better than the Environment Day. And I think this is the first time since the establishment of World Bicycle Day, we got better coverage, and the interest was more focused. I think this is the difference between the World Bicycle Day and the Environment Day. On World Bicycle Day, you can touch the bicycle. On the Environment Day, this is a macro problem. And many people are a little bit lost. They have to be more educated, but bicycle is part of environment protection as well. So we are together, but we are leading the charge.
Thank you, Levski.
Thank you.
¿Quién quiere comentar, preguntar? Carolina.
Sí, primeramente me gustaría agradecer al profesor Bezek por esta excelente ponencia. Creo que hoy es un día muy especial porque es el Día Mundial del Medio Ambiente y estamos hablando de un tema muy importante que es la bicicleta. Y justo ayer Antonio Guterres habló que nuestro país, nuestro planeta está a punto de ya no tener vuelta atrás, ¿no? ¿Y cómo podemos cambiar eso? Creo que la bicicleta es importante no solamente para el medio ambiente como para nuestra salud. Y entonces, profesor Bezek, te hago esta pregunta. Los diplomáticos representan su propio gobierno, su país, su política económica, su manera de hacer su propio sistema y hablan entre ellos, ¿no? Entonces, ¿por qué es importante ellos empezaren a hablar cada vez más acerca de la bicicleta y ahora también del transporte público y hablar también de utilizar menos coches? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué tienen que hacer? ¿Y crees que ellos van a empezar a hacer eso? ¿Van a empezar a hablar, a discutir estos temas?
Well, my observation is that diplomats are usually well selected in most cases, and they are very well educated. They are able to speak in different languages. They are exposed to travels, different cultures. And after 4 years of serving in their hosting country, they come back to their native countries for at least 2 years, sometimes even longer. And they bring the new ideas. And let's say if a diplomat from developing country is going to spend 4 years in the Netherlands, he's going to get the message that the bicycle is important. So the diplomats are the vanguard of whatever is happening in the world. Some are use a term which is not a pleasant one. They are official spies, which is not far from the truth, but that's what it is. They go, they represent their own country, but they also try to absorb as much as possible from their host countries. And they usually are very progressive. And sometimes they're even so progressive that their own governments are not too happy that they bring so many good ideas from abroad. That's the case. That's the case here in the United States. The State Department was, during the previous presidency, not perceived as a friendly towards president because they was thinking more like the Western Europeans. So I bet on diplomats because they are organized, they know each other, and for example, in the case of the Polish ambassador in the Netherlands, in Ireland, in Dublin, she engaged 9 other ambassadors, by the way, one from Colombia, one from Chile, and they came up with a beautiful movie promoting the World Bicycle Day. Whatever they do together, it's good for our environment, it's good for us. Remember, when diplomats talk about peace, peaceful solutions, that's good. As soon as they're starting to negotiate peace, that's not good, because they are wasting time and they're focusing towards other things. Plus, we have to remember, whenever we talk environment and bicycle, 17 Sustainable Development Goals. bicycle is basically in every goal present. That shows the importance of this instrument. And we should pay attention to bicycle as something very important. Look, every family, in most cases, has a first aid, bandage, some pain pills or something, just in case something happens. My advice is have at least one bicycle, because if the electricity goes out, if the gasoline is out, bicycle will be with you, will be supporting you. I read something, I believe that was last year, that during in the aftermath of earthquake in Mexico City, the first responders at some point were unable to use their ambulances. They moved from ambulances to bicycles, and they were delivering first aid and rescuing people. It tells you something. A few weeks ago, we had this hacking attack on this colonial pipeline in south of United States. Suddenly, we saw people waiting in long lines for gasoline at the gas station. But there were people who were bypassing them to work using bicycles. The answer is there.
Bueno, más comentarios, preguntas. Vean que Jorge Cataño compartido en el chat, plataforma sustentabilidad para seguir con la bicicleta. Gracias, Jorge, por compartir con nosotros esta dirección. Bueno, comentarios. Daniel de la Cueva.
Bueno, primero y antes que nada, doctor Lesec, agradecerle su presentación. Ha sido muy interesante y lo felicito en nombre del CLEC. Y ahora una pregunta. Entendemos que el deporte mayormente es difundido a través de la televisión. Así que tanto el Tour de France como el Giro de Italia nos muestran el lado deportivo del ciclismo. La otra cara, de alguna forma, contra el ciclismo urbano o el ciclismo como forma de vida, es esto que nos muestra una realidad muy distinta. ¿Cómo vería bajo la óptica de la pedagogía de Pierre de Coubertin poder tomar esas imágenes que de alguna forma han sido utilizadas y conquistadas por el mercado y hasta por la mala publicidad que tiene, por ejemplo, los hechos de doping, ¿no es cierto?, en el caso de este deporte?
Yes, that's a very good question, good point. And during the process of establishing this holiday at the United Nations, I had two options. To call this day World Bicycle Day or World Cycling Day. And actually, there was a lobby which was pushing for World Cycling Day. I said to myself, no, because bicycle is loyal and it's something which we will stick to, and cycling can be always adopted, changed, and obviously I was fully aware what is going on in professional cycling in terms of doping. World Bicycle Day accepts every possible person who is using the bicycle frequently or from time to time. So we are welcome, we are open-minded to any kind of activity on the bicycle. In terms of cycling, I can tell you one thing. When you are looking at a country like the Netherlands, and then when you look at their outcomes at the Olympics and World Championships, you are getting the message that the bicycle popularity in this small country can produce champions. There is another thing. When you have money, money can do magic. Money can corrupt people, and money can change directions of many good intentions. We have two extremes: professional cycling and cycling on electric bikes, which is completely a new baby on the street. And you see sometimes people bypassing you with high speed, with two kids on their bikes and heavy bags, and they go like this. And then you ask yourself, is this honest? Is this all, what is this all about? And I had some issues with electric bikes in the past, and I asked one of the leading producers of bicycles what he thinks about it. And he replied to me in a very business-oriented way. He said, if there is a space for a clientele for those bikes, we should keep producing them and we should keep selling them. Now, if we want to compete, we should give them the opportunity to compete in races like a Tour de France or so on. Is this dirty sport? I'm not too optimistic. And in terms of Coubertin, probably he would not been happy with what is happening in Tour de France. But let me tell you something. If you are asked to do over 3,000 kilometers in 3 weeks, that's also a question which should be taken under consideration. And cycling is based on team. You have doctors, you have owners, you have management, you have marketing, you name it. This is the whole package. It's not only cycling which is sick, but everything around it. And in my case, I have very difficult moment to digest the idea of betting on sport. I'm not a big fan of betting because betting is basically engineering, cheating, and pushing people to make mistakes. And that's a very dangerous trend, but it's going there. In terms of Coubertin, I give you one example. I had over 3,000 students in my sociology of sport class throughout my career here in the United States. And whenever I mention name of Pierre de Coubertin, that was a new name for them. That's the problem. Before we're gonna talk about doping and betting and marketing, I think we should go back and talk about Coubertin. Young kids in the United States have no clue about Coubertin. In my native Poland, Coubertin was part of our teachings in high school. As a graduate of the Sports Academy, I had exams from Coubertin's teachings. And that's what has to be done. And we at this organization should be a little bit more proactive, engaging, and do our own marketing about Pierre de Coubertin, because he's a very attractive person in terms of storytelling. He can really captivate people. And you know, my dream is to see someday someone is gonna make a movie about him, featured movie, and that's gonna be a huge game changer. Because right now, he's an eclectic person for some, and we are unable to spread the message. There are not enough teachers who want to do that. Thank you for the question. I hope I answered your question.
Very nice. Bueno, Alberto Moro quiere preguntar, Alberto, ¿sabes por qué no te contestaba? Porque estas manitas están aplaudiendo y no llamando. Por eso no pensaba que estabas solamente saludando al invitado. Ahora puedes hacer tu pregunta.
Perfecto. Yo quería no solo hacer la pregunta, sino felicitar en primer lugar al señor Sibilski, también a Nelson y a María Fernanda, ¿por qué no? Estoy hablando desde el Museo del Deporte Pierre de Coubertin en Argentina. Quiero comentarles que aquí hay mucho material relacionado con el ciclismo. Entre otras cosas, un trofeo de la época del velocípedo en 1896, fechado el 28 de junio de 1896, que es una belleza y que los invito a todos que vengan a conocerlo. Pero además, y esta es una pregunta directa para el señor Sibilski, tengo una bicicleta aquí que tiene un sistema de transmisión a cardán como los automóviles. Tengo casi la certeza que es de origen alemán y quería saber qué pasó con ese proyecto, porque tiene un engranaje y un eje, no tiene la cadena tradicional de las bicicletas. Un engranaje en el pedal y un engranaje en la rueda posterior que se transmite a través de un eje como es el cardán de los automóviles. Quería saber si usted sabe qué pasó con ese proyecto, si tuvo alguna difusión o no.
Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with this kind of bicycles, and this is a very unique project. I think you should take a picture of it, send it to me, and I will investigate through some engineers in Europe, and they might be able to help you. And you can go to the originate date of production of such a machine. You raise another very important issue. Who is more important, the cyclist or the bicycle? And let me tell you something. When you get older, the bicycle is important. Because you have more money, you can spend more money on your bicycle. When you are younger, you are more interested in your own power, in your own engine. And let me tell you something which was a great lesson for me. 1973, two Polish cyclists arrived in Montreal for the World Championships, and they were waiting at the arrival hall for their bikes, and they were informed that the bikes was lost or they are stuck in some place in Europe. Well, they went to the hotel, and for 4 or 5 days, just to keep themselves in a good shape, they were using a very old, I mean very old rusty bicycles to keep their muscles in good shape. After 6 days, their original bikes arrived, and 2 days later, they took part in the race for the World Championship for the rainbow shirt. One of them won the World Championship. So this is proof to me that the engine is more important than anything else.
Bueno, Elvira, creo que no hay más preguntas. Creo que podrías conducir entonces los agradecimientos para el cierre de la sesión.
Bueno, muchas gracias, profesor Sibilski y señor Targa. Pierre de Coubertin nos ha dejado su ideario y su fuerza de convicción. Lo que hemos escuchado en esta conferencia es la prueba y la confirmación de esta fuerza cuando uno tiene convicción y cree en su proyecto. Usted ha confirmado que Coubertin es el futuro y con su experiencia podemos decir que hoy somos capaces de explicar hoy al gran público qué es lo que Coubertin realmente quería conseguir renovando los Juegos Olímpicos de la Antigüedad. Somos capaces de explicar con ejemplos, con acciones como la suya y con el éxito que usted ha conseguido a nivel internacional. Su ejemplo es para seguirlo a distintos niveles, con convicción y entusiasmo. Y volviendo a la frase que he utilizado al principio, me gustaría decir, vosotros no habéis tenido miedo, sois mens fervida. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. I really appreciate this. And let's have meetings like this more often, and let's inspire each other.